Today, I'm going to be talking about how I got my company where it is, some kind of cool stories that are involved with that, some tips and tricks that basically got me to where I'm at now, which, I mean, is not far, but it's going somewhere. So I'm doing something that seems to be working. So I'm going to give you some information about at least how I got to where I'm at this point. Cool. Later, but I think you guys got us in there. To start things off, to kind of begin this story, I'm going to start off. I mean, I could go way back to when I was a kid and like running small businesses at like 10 and 11 years old. Obviously small shit. It was called Jobs by Jacob. I picked up leaves and shit. Either way, I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to start after college. I'd already been to culinary school, and I moved in with two guys named Garrett and Clayton. They're brothers. We started a YouTube channel called Piston Head Productions. Originally, it was called Automotive Mods, and funny enough, we actually got a lawsuit because that name was too close to another company's name. Kind of flipped that around, met with the owner of that company and said, hey, you know, can we keep the name if maybe we do some work for you? Because they had an online publication of car stuff. Worked out an awesome deal. We got to kind of utilize their media presence to get us into other events, utilize that to get credentials. We didn't get sued, so that was nice. I know we changed the name, obviously, to Piston Head Productions. I don't know if it was directly after that or if there was some time. But yeah, kind of took a real negative and flipped it. But yeah, that's where things started off. And kind of going back to going to events and stuff, the first place that we really got things going, and the first place that I kind of learned a little bit more about business, going to auto shows, where I could go on media day and not only watch how proper media conduct themselves, as well as proper businessmen and then representatives of brands. I very quickly met with as many of these people as possible, which was really neat because at the time I had a giant mohawk. And I met all these different people and kind of got to pick their brains about how, you know, these different brands work and how, you know, these different photographers, who do they work for? What are the things that they do? That is all stuff that I got to learn during that time and be around those people and kind of try and be memorable. Obviously with the hair, pretty easy to be memorable, but just to meet these people and try and pick their brains and see where they're at in their career and how they got there. Fast forward a little bit, during Piston Head Productions, we did a bunch of different car builds. We did my Mazda Protege, we did a Mazda 3 and Garrett's Civic. Then they started going to other projects like a Mark IV Supra, eventually into Garrett's 2JZ powered Skyline. And all along the while, we're working with different brands. We even did like app reviews and stuff like that. Anything car related, we just tried to do. And eventually that got to a point where we did a project which was called the Cummins Miata or the Soot Salon. Although a lot of people call it the Soot Saloon, bad branding on my part. And that project was kind of the pinnacle of you know, everything that I'd learned put into one. A lot of sponsorship stuff. You know, a lot of managing of parts and getting things in. It was very difficult. I was not perfect. I screwed up a lot of things in that project, but I did learn quite a lot. I learned about the marketing side of it, running social media, and trying to really, you know, push things and see how far I could take them. All the while that was going on, we did have to build the car. Believe it or not, the first time I actually drifted was at Road Atlanta in that car. And during that time, I met a bunch of different people doing that project and meeting different people in the drifting community. And one of the people that I met and got to hang out with were the guys over at NV Auto, Dove being the owner, and Riley Sexsmith, obviously the driver, who at the time was running in Formula Drift Pro 2. So I kind of got a little bit friendly with them, one being Canadians down in Atlanta. They had kind of heard of what we were doing, probably thought I was insane, almost guarantee Dove thought I was insane. But also kind of, you know, once again, got friendly, got memorable. You know, they realized that we were doing some neat stuff. Fast forward a little bit later on in the season, I got a bit more time to hang out with them because I still did not know how to drive, and Riley gave me some tips to get a little bit better, although I still suck, even to this day. And I got to chat with Dove, the owner, a little bit more and found out that they needed a media person. And I said, hey, I'll make you a deal. Get me to all the events. I don't care if I have to ride in a truck. I don't have to care if I have to sleep in the back. Get me to the events. I will make videos of what you guys are doing. He's like, sweet. You know, we'll get it all fired up. We'll get everything arranged and you can come do that with us. So yeah, I managed to do that first year. And in that time at Formula Drift, I tried to meet as many people as I possibly could. I went around, I met drivers, I met representatives of companies, I went to booths and talked to people there. and was able to make a good network of people that I knew at these events. And a lot of them I still know. Actually, a driver that my company is sponsoring right now, Jonathan Hurst, I met during that time. And all the while, obviously meeting these brands. And I was also creating all this content for Riley and the team. Part of that was doing sponsorship integrations. So I had to shoot the different products that were provided by sponsors. And one of those sponsors was ECU Master. ECU Master is owned by a guy named Zach, super cool dude, awesome brand to work with. And Zach and I got talking and I said, hey, you obviously need a little bit of help with your social media. Can I give you a hand with that? Can we work something out? Pay a rate, obviously. And at that time, I had no idea what fucking I should be charging. I still don't really know. Yeah, we worked out this awesome deal where I would kind of help with all the social media content for him. And, obviously he paid me and it worked out really well. And I did a lot of research to figure out what I need to be doing. Obviously, I learned a lot through the Miata and through doing everything through Piston Productions and through helping out Riley and the AMV Auto team. But this was kind of like my first big time job. And from there, things, kind of picked up quickly. We were able to see a lot of growth with ECU Masters by posting regularly, engaging with our audience, stuff like that. Very, very basic stuff at the time. Obviously, social media has gotten way more advanced than just that now. But just by having regular presence, things grew. That's just how social media works. And through, once again, doing another season of FD, I was able to meet a lot more people. I'm not going to get into all the specific business connections and things along those lines, but let's just say I met other drivers, the companies that represent them. I met other team owners, spotters, people who work within the community. And I was able to make those connections. And as I did more stuff for Zach, I continued those conversations and continued to meet more people. And essentially just leverage that. And at some point in time, I, would slip into conversation that I do this for ECU Master, I do this for Enviata, I do this for Piston Productions, and was able to kind of introduce that idea. Now, some brands had no idea that this was even really a thing. Obviously that their social media needed help, but there were people out there that could they could pay to kind of help them out with that. Some brands were quite well aware. Some of them already had teams of people, but regardless, I made it known. I put it out there that that's something I was doing and that I wanted to continue to do. Eventually, that actually split off from Piston Productions, became ZZX Digital, which is the name of my company. And I was able to pick up more contracts. Now, I continued to go to different events, different races, things along those lines, and just made it known that this is what I did. I brought it up in conversation whenever I could. People would ask me questions about social media. I would provide the best response that I could. But that is essentially how the business grew. I took all these people that I met going to these different events and made sure that they were aware of what my business was. I tried to be memorable. If you couldn't tell, I like to talk, so I like meeting people. And I would try to meet people in every situation that I possibly could. I would very often try and meet people that were a little bit ahead of me in their career. I would never try to go after like a CEO, although if they were there, like maybe I'd try and start a conversation. But I always try and meet people that were, usually similar in age, a couple years older, maybe 5 to 10, that were a little bit more into their career than I was, to try and learn what was that gap between where I'm at and where they're at. Because they were only a little bit further ahead, it was a little bit easier to bridge that. It's someone once told me you don't get Wayne Gretzky to teach you how to skate. Obviously that. I don't know if that analogy makes sense to most people, but you want to find people that are a little bit ahead of you, and that way it's still relatable, it's fresh for them, and that's basically what I did. Fast forward, this year, or I guess it's 2022 now, but 2021, beginning of the year was just me. Started off the company, and very quickly I realized I needed help and was able to hire more and more people. I really hope this is still recording. And now into 2022. There's 2 of us that are full-time. There's 2 part-timers and then a bunch of people that I contract out. And that's kind of where the company's at. It is going to progress and grow, but we'll see how that all moves forward. So yeah, that's kind of a quick, story about where the company came from, how it got to be where it is today. And hopefully you're able to pull some information out of that kind of lets you know how I was able to get to where I am. And basically what it comes down to is meeting people as often as possible, becoming memorable in some way, and just letting them know what it is that you do. Try and bring it up in conversation organically. Don't try and be a dick about it. Be like, hey, you want social media? I would just say, hey, this is what I do. If people ask what I do for a living, I tell them, hey, I do social media for automotive brands. and they're like, oh shit, that's cool. And it starts a conversation. So that's kind of my tip. That's kind of my video for today. So thank you guys for watching. If you do like this content, if you want to see the other kind of shit I got going in my head, I'm trying to do 365 days of videos. And yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of different things I'm gonna try and do and just see what happens and what hits. So kind of a cool experiment too. Follow along, see what kind of content works, and yeah, we'll go from there. So thank you again, guys, for watching. Check it if you want to learn more about my company. Links are down below. If you want to find my personal socials, they're also down below. And see you guys later.